In the Illinois Valley of southwestern Oregon, there is a road leading through the $8 Mountain Botanical Area and up a western ridge to an easy hike that touches the edge of the Kalmiopsis wilderness. Babyfoot Lake is our destination on this sunny day in June. We are not young. We are not in a hurry. We like to study the landscape features and the small details, the flora, the fauna, the long arc of geological history.
We believe, like Aristotle, that in all things of nature there is something of the marvelous. We're Elizabeth and Terry. We're two on a trail.
Couldn't have got the car up here. It's not like we're creating a traffic jam. The lingering snowdrifts mean we have to walk a short way to the parking area. As there are no other cars around, we park safely on the road's edge and proceed to the trailhead. Elevation 4,340 feet. As we approach, we can see a sharp distinction between the unburned forest to the left and south of us, contrasting with the almost complete burn of the areas to the west and along the trail.
Well, this is Babyfoot Lake Trail. We don't know exactly how far we're going to get. We should be able to get to the lake. Just a little roadside snow, but we'll see what we see. It's beautiful up here. The only thing I've heard is mountain quail. And this is a really special area. So I'm hoping we'll be able to make it to the lake. It's not very far, but there are some interesting species to observe and look for. And anyway, it should be a gorgeous day up here, and we're dipping our toes into the Kalmiopsis wilderness.
For countless generations, Takelma people have lived in the Illinois Valley. Winters were spent in villages, and in summer they would travel to their traditional hunting and gathering grounds in the highlands to gather roots, acorns, and camas, and hunt for deer, bear, and other wildlife. Their descendants are members of the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians, Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde Community, and the Cow Creek Band of Umpqua.
Greenleaf manzanita is an evergreen shrub common to the chaparral biome of western North America. The plentiful flowers are white to pink and turn into edible fruits. Seeds require fire, followed by cold conditions, to germinate, and can remain dormant in soil for hundreds of years. Manzanitas can live in places with poor soil and little water. Here on the recovering slopes, they are the dominant ground cover.
Complicating the landscape around us is the aftermath of the Biscuit fire of 2002, a massive event that burned 500,000 acres in southern Oregon and northern California, the second largest wildfire in the post-1900 history of Oregon. Along the trail are many standing dead trees, now changed into beautiful silver snags. Here, the fire was not a mosaic of burned and unburned trees, but nearly total destruction of the forest canopy.
Understanding why the Klamath Mountains represent a unique bioregion involves a deep dive into the distant past. During the Jurassic period, about 140 million years ago, Oregon was just beginning to rise out of the Western Ocean. as offshore island arcs drifted east and bumped against the continent. The earliest parts of Oregon to arrive were in the Klamath and Wallowa Mountains, now on a diagonal from southwest to northeast Oregon, but once parallel to the ocean. At the same time, the landscape was dominated by huge trees like the sequoia, and there may have been as many as 20,000 species of conifers. Fast forward to the Eocene, between 56 and 34 million years ago, when a temperate forest, more diverse than any living today, covered the northern continent from coast to coast. This forest included conifers and broadleaf trees existing in the same ecoregion, side by side. As David Rains Wallace pointed out in his fascinating book, The Klamath Knot, time went on and the climate changed, and broadleaf trees began to replace the conifers in many places. But conifers developed strategies to survive high altitude, arid conditions, thin soils, solar radiation, and wind. In these areas, conifers were able to outcompete their broadleaf relatives.
Today, our western forests are dominated by conifers, while hardwood species have retreated to areas with richer soils and more rainfall. But here, in the Klamath Mountains, a term that encompasses many ranges, including the Siskiyous, is a remnant of a much richer past, and along this trail and its terminus at Babyfoot Lake are rare species, characteristic of the diverse forest that once existed throughout the northern hemisphere, but that are now in the Klamath bioregion and nowhere else.
Oh, Trillium.
The so-called pistol grip trunks of these trees is evidence of landslides, which caused trees to be tipped downhill. As time passed, the trees would regrow toward the vertical again, leaving behind a curved trunk, revealing the past slippage of the slope. The sound of snow melt. Has that bird been following us?
I think so. As we approach the lake, we pass larger but still young conifers postdating the fire, as well as Sadler's oak, which now exists only as a conifer understory shrub in the snow zones of the Klamath Mountains. It appears to be closely related to other oaks of the eastern forest in Asia due to its chestnut-like leaves. Golden chinquapin thrives here in the snow zone as a tallish shrubs. It used to be more widespread in the Pacific Northwest, but is now seen as a relict of the warmer area of 9,000 to 5,000 years ago, when it was widespread in Washington state. We have arrived at this little lake with its rich and complex biological history. David Rains described being buzzed and bled by purple-eyed horseflies here. The lake thick with primordial ooze where rough-skinned newts abound. But the lake water seems clear and no insects buzz around us. Maybe this is due to the early season. Maybe the wildfires changed the lake habitat, or there's some other explanation. All we know is that the lake is peaceful and quiet, so we concentrate on looking for the 3 varieties of cedar, Western Red, Port Orford, and incense, as well as the endemic Brewer Spruce, also called Weeping Spruce, with its pendant branches and jigsaw puzzle bark. We leave the lake with more questions than answers, resolving to study the fascinating details of the Klamath Mountains and to return again, and hopefully soon.